One of the reasons that people choose the polygamous lifestyle is because you get to actually spend more time pouring into yourself and developing yourself to become the greatest version of yourself. My name is Asha Sekhmet, and I am a Tantra practitioner, oracle, spirit guide, and thought leader. My purpose is to build a sovereign community with like minded souls to become closer to the Creator without strict religious doctrine. We practice the Maji Community Life System, which is based on a 7-year initiation that I went through in indigenous culture and way of life. And we are practicing polygamy, polyamory, sovereignty, and tribalism. Okay, everyone. So I am actually really excited to talk about this topic because it's so important. In this day and time, if you're living in a modern Western world, we are already born in a society that focuses on independence, right? For you to be self-independent, right? And this is, integrated into our life. Now, one thing I want to talk about is how to maintain this sovereignty of ourselves, our own sovereignties and individuality in a polygamous family structure. Okay. And especially if we're building out community. One of the hesitancies that modern women have in joining polygamous relationship styles is the potential of losing their individuality. And this is a valid concern or something to think about when joining a polygamous marriage. And I actually want to say it's actually the opposite of what people may think. In the modern way that we would do polygamous group marriages, which we have for the Maji community a solution for that, which is functional polyamory, it creates this element of allowing us to honor our own individual sovereignty as we are building in our polygamous family and as a community and tribe. So for us, it's really about honoring both sexes with reciprocity and honoring the divinity of both sexes. So this means that we have a pathway that allows for men in our community and women in our community to ascend without limitation. We do not deny women the right to have multiple male partners if it is suited for the community needs. Right? So in the Maji community, we uphold reciprocity of both sexes. So this creates the element also to allow our individual sovereignty to evolve as a soul. Remember, if we put our mind in the framework of the Maji Community Life System, it is to follow a spiritual path to become the highest and greatest version of yourself by working through the opposite sex and building in a community collective. That allows you alone to have time to pour back into yourself. When we're talking about us practicing polygamy and husbands sharing, women are able to do this because they see reflections of themselves in their sisters, so they're able to do that inner work. Two, having sisters to carry the load with you and taking care of your husband from a perspective of just his needs and wifely duties, sharing responsibilities of children, having a that collective to help you allows you to pour back into yourself by having sister wives. You have sister wives who care about each other, who embody wanting for our sisters what we want for ourselves. Meaning, as any woman, decent human being, right, wanting for yourself is, of course, being in your natural state, being what God designed you to be. That is what that means when we embody wanting for our sisters what we want for ourselves. In the Maji community, we do have a model that teaches what is naturally by design a female human and what is a male human. When we think about female nature, as young as we can remember, this is a cross-ethnic group. We play with dolls. We vision our house and our family. That's female nature, right? We're community oriented by our design. Right? And in that, you have your own individual soul purpose, right? When you're working in a community collective, that can help you get there faster and to the greatest level that it can happen, because we're also talking about economic sovereignty. So when we're in polygamous marriages, this allows us to have that time to ourselves. As our partner, we're not relying on our partner to provide all our needs, because we get that from our community, right? Having a community is what allows you to continue to maintain that individual sovereignty and have times to yourself for, personal growth. When we talk about, one day I was meditating in nature, and it came to me as something from Ma'at, I feel. Just that ascension is really a collective thing, right? Like, ascension is not really an isolated thing. Ascension meaning we have an illusion of separation, right? So just because you're in the modern Western world, you have your own family, you go into your home, you're still tied in the unseen world to other people in your ethnic group that you don't know. You're still tied to them, and what's happening with them is still affecting you, and vice versa, in certain ways not. But I'm saying everything, everywhere, all at once, right? There's an interconnected web, right? So even when we have the illusion of just being by ourselves, the individuals, we're never truly just isolated, right? We're ascending collectively because we are fractals of the Most High. We're made in the image of the Creator. We are fractals of God, of the Creator, right? We have God within. We can access God at any time, right? So when we're talking about in a group collective, that's what also our focus is to get closer to that all energy, which is the highest vibration, to get to it higher, to ascend. So in functional polyamory, this allows us to continue to evolve in relationships, evolving in our own sovereignty. And functional polyamory in our community does have a requirement of wife training and husband training, right? This is what makes it functional, because functional polyamory can involve relationships in our community that are business partnership oriented, that are co-parenting dynamics, that and in other types of intimate relationships with the opposite sex that may not involve sex, but physical sex, but it's intimate, right? So we do not have any, type of denying opposite, we don't deny either sexes of evolvement, right? So we allow the individual soul to evolve. So the other type of dynamic that I want to talk about with this is, this gets into deeper layers when we talk about for the Black African American community, and particularly for Black African Americans. So we have to look at the variable of feminism. Feminism has affected all women, right, in the U.S. However, it has done something deeper to the Black African American community systematically, and this was used as psychological warfare to destroy our families, right? So when we talk about the Alice Walker, the Bell Hooks, right, these women, and it is documentation out there, right, that supports the claim that they were CIA agents planted in paid jobs to do the literature and work that they've done. Also, the other Black woman who invented that intersexuality word, that's again coupling with feminism. So I can't remember her name. I think it's Audre Lorde. But all of these women, it is my personal opinion to definitely believe, based on the evidence that I have seen, that they have been working with the CIA or the government to go into Black communities with an agenda to infiltrate the homes of the Black community, so that Black women would go more into the workforce, career driven, because that's more profitable. It's more profitable for Black women to have this type of divide and conquer individuality kind of mindset, to go in to the workforce and put more into the workforce than their home and pouring up a community, right? We know there is also interfaces with slavery, right? During chattel enslavement,
that was what African women, right, they were also prone to do, in terms of like forced into slavery, of pouring more into their white enslavers' home than their own family, and their families leaving the scraps, and that's what they had to do to survive, right? So there's many implications to it for Black African Americans in particular. I just wanted to add this element to it because it's necessary when we talk about other layers of healing, mental shackles to overcome, for Black African Americans to, this is your path to understand where we were, how we got here, and where we need to go, to understand, aspects of history and the difference between European thought, culture, ideology, and behavior versus African indigenous culture, ideology, and behavior. This is imperative, especially for Black women who is seeking and is made for a path of polygamy. It's important to know the difference so that you know how to be in truly alignment with who you are based on your DNA. Okay, so this is actually the topic we are going to be talking about in the Sisterwives Rising call this upcoming Wednesday, September the 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be talking about how do we truly embody this culturally rooted sisterhood and wanting for your sisters what you want for yourself, right? And practicing functional polyamory. How do we use this as a stepping stone? And we have created a newly refined form of polygamy today in functional polyamory to be able to continue on our journeys to evolve our soul and rooted in sisterhood, harmonizing with the divine masculine. So if you are a melanated woman and you are seeking and open to learning more about sisterhood and poly relationships, you want to learn more about solutions for harmonizing with the divine masculine. Also, if you're looking to learn more about how to work in a group collective and honoring your sovereignty and learning to work and grow with your sisters, reaching your higher self, then you can join us on this call. We have our last two sessions this Wednesday, September the 17th, and next Wednesday, September the 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can RSVP on my website, ashasekhmet.com/store. So in closing, I just really just want to reiterate that we honor in the Maji Community Life System, we honor souls evolving, right? Transcending our humanity and accomplishing our incarnation purposes, right? We honor that life is really in this human realm about a spiritual experience, and what we have is a life system that you can apply to your own life. And as you're building your polygamous family and working in community, you're able to have the tools right at your hands to be able to reach the highest and greatest version of yourself, working through the opposite sex and doing really great things, right? Functional polyamory and us working in the highest level for group economics to achieve sovereignty by working in interdependence, doing all this, this really helps with us being able to become supernatural humans, right? To live above just survival, right? Thriving as human beings were intended to live and exist as the Most High, right? Being sovereign, choosing for ourselves and defining our lives for ourselves and our family. It is such a powerful thing. So the last thing I'll mention is just some nuggets here. The 7 habits of highly effective people. I read the concept of interdependence. So we're talking about moving towards, economic freedom, sovereignty, and higher levels of ascension and being. Then this book was a good book that kind of helped with understanding habits that can be very good for people. And this is indigenous, an indigenous concept is interdependence, right? So he talks about in the book the layers, like independence. Interdependence is literally the next level. It's the next level of higher way of living, so more advanced, right? And then the other book I wanted to mention was Yurugu, but by Dr. Marima Ani. So she talks about a critique to European thought, cultural ideology, and behavior. And I would just recommend this book if you are a Black person, in particular, just seeking to learn more of knowledge of self, because it's not necessarily to look at things as good or bad, right? It's to look at things as a lesson, experiences, and how to connect more with yourself. So you can understand more about yourself when you know what is not you, right? So that's in that book. And then We Want for Our Sisters What We Want for Ourselves by Dr. Patricia Dixon Spear. This is a great book because she does go over the history of nuclear families and how that is actually constructed and created in Europe, right? So this was actually a European marriage system, which is a nuclear family. And so that's like the traditional monogamy, right? So it's good to know these references, because when we talk about long-standing human civilizations, what marriage practices did they have? So these were indigenous people. These were melanated people. These were African people. These were people who look like me, right? So it's very important, like we talk about what marriage systems did they practice to have these long-standing high civilizations like the ones that build the pyramids, right? the ancient Kemites, right? Land of the Black people. What were the marriage practices that they practiced? Polygamy. All right, everybody. It's been a great video here. Great topic. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Of course, I welcome them. I share a collective space here with you all. So I welcome you. Just, be respectful, of course, sharing, giving your input, and building community with us, adding to the collective conversation. And it's okay if you have a different perspective about different things. It's just about us adding to the collective, okay? I'm just here to serve. And so you can like this video. Also, subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you do want to learn more about the Maji Community Life System, how to get involved with our movement, if you want to learn more about how we're doing the financial wellness and sovereignty piece, to add, group economics in. If you want to learn more, you can always schedule a one-on-one with me. So you can do that at my website as well, ashasekhmet.com. And I will see you all in the next video.